Hey, you think I don't know about YouTube? Well, I do. With today's story, you'll laugh, you'll learn, and you'll remember where you come from and recognize where you are going. The elders say, what the old sees while sitting, a young cannot see even from the top of a tree. So come now, listen well and let the story speak to your spirit. They say the gods delight in tying the threads of destiny into knots that only love can untangle. In the country of Nigeria, once, in the age before iron met steam and kingdom still spoke through drums, two thrones stood divided by not hatred but by pride. One rose from the red earth of the north, the other from the green hills of the south. Zazao and Okeoro, each radiant in its own glory, neither yielding to the other. In Zazao, where the sun bathed the domes in gold and the air hummed with prayers and poetry, Emir Danzaki ruled with steady wisdom. His palace was a citadel of order, its courtyards scented with myrrh and sandalwood, and his gardens echoing with the call to prayer. The emir's only son, Prince Karim Danzaki, was the kind of man who made silence seem noble. His beauty was quiet, a calm, deliberate strength that neither flaunted nor bowed. He was tall, with skin bronzed by the northern sun, eyes like still water, and the measured grace of one born to both sword and scripture. From a young age, Karim was schooled in all that befitted a future ruler: the Quran, the art of diplomacy, the tactics of war, and the duties of compassion. But within him lived a poet, a soul that heard music even in the stillness of dawn. Yet, to the dismay of his family, he had refused to marry. The emir's wife, Queen Rama, had long set her hopes on Amina Bako, the daughter of her dearest friend and a woman of striking poise. Amina was beloved in Zazao, known for her elegance, her devotion, and her laughter that could soften the sternest heart. Her garments shimmered with northern embroidery, and her eyes shone with admiration for Karim. The two had grown up in the same palace grounds, shared lessons in their youth, and seemed destined for one another. But fate does not always follow reason. Amina's affection was open and earnest. She brought him sweets after fasting, left verses at his study table, and prayed that the day would come when their family's hopes would bind them forever. Yet Karim, though respectful, was distant. His gratitude was warm, but his heart remained untouched. He could not bring himself to love her, though every expectation urged him to. His mother wept softly at night, whispering, "A man's duty is not always his desire," while his father remained silent, believing time would cure what stubbornness began. Then came the drought, a test of every kingdom's patience and faith. The rains refused to fall, the rivers thinned to dust, cattle grew weak, and the markets lost their home. The emir, guided by wisdom and prayer, sent word to allied kingdoms for aid. It was decided that his son, Karim, would lead the diplomatic caravan southward toward the land of Okeoro, a kingdom rich in water, harvest, and culture. Far to the south, Princess Adesewa Adewumi of Okeoro was a jewel in her father's court. Her beauty was the kind that made sculptors doubt their craft. Her skin glowed like the smooth bark of iroko, her eyes deep and mischievous, and her laughter bright as cowrie shells scattering on marble. She was the daughter of Kabiesi Adewumi III, ruler of a people whose drums spoke in parables and whose wisdom was wrapped in proverbs. Adesewa had been raised between two worlds, tradition and curiosity. She danced at festivals, yet read scrolls of history. She learned to sing Oriki praises, but also to question laws too rigid for mercy. Her people adored her spirit, though some whispered that she was too bold, too clever for a princess. When news came that the northern prince was arriving on behalf of the great emir, the palace prepared for grandeur. Dancers rehearsed for days, cooks seasoned their pots as though feeding the gods. On the day of the visit, the air smelled of palm wine and new rain. Karim rode into Okeoro, surrounded by horsemen, his robe of indigo catching the sun, his turban glinting with gold thread. The Yoruba court, rich in color and rhythm, stood still as he entered. Princess Adesewa in coral beads and white wrappers stood beside her father. Their eyes met, hers filled with curiosity and warmth, his with awe and restraint. In that brief meeting, something eternal passed between them, as if the ancestors themselves had conspired to bind them in silence. Over the following days, Karim spoke in the council about peace and trade. He was eloquent, respectful and commanding. But in the evenings, as he walked through the palace gardens, he would see Adesewa among the hibiscus and bougainvillea, laughing with her attendants. There was something in her laughter that made him forget the weight of diplomacy and remember he was only a man. Adesewa too felt a pull she could not explain. She watched him from afar, his gentle manner, the way he bowed before elders, the quiet devotion in his eyes. He was different from the brash warriors and boastful princes she knew. There was in him a nobility born not only of blood, but of thought. Their paths began to cross in the marketplace, in the temple courtyard, by the river that ran through the city. What began as polite conversation became a bond of shared wonder. They spoke of stars, of destiny, of the dreams that visit just before dawn. But word travels faster than wind. The Yoruba court began to murmur. The Ifa priests frowned. The elders warned that a Yoruba princess and the Hausa prince were like oil and water, each noble but never to mix. The emir's envoy grew restless, urging Karim to return north. In Zazao, Queen Rama's letters arrived, reminding her son of his duty and of Amina, who waited faithfully, praying for his return. Karim's heart became a battlefield between loyalty and longing. He dreamt of Adesewa's laughter and awoke to guilt. In Okeoro, Adesewa faced her own torment. Her father adored her, but he could never permit her to marry a foreigner. Marriage was alliance, not affection, and alliances were written in lineage, not love. The day came when Karim was ordered to leave. His final meeting with Adesewa was by the river bank, beneath the vast Nigerian moon. There were no promises, no farewells, only silence and a look that neither could erase. He rode north before sunrise, leaving behind a heart that had forgotten how to obey. Back in Zazao, Karim found Amina waiting. She welcomed him with joy, tending to his travel wounds and speaking gently of his duty. Yet he was colder now, distracted, distant and haunted. His poetry returned, darker and deeper than before. One night, his mother confronted him, asking why he punished a woman who loved him so openly. He answered softly, I cannot give what I do not have." Amina's tears fell quietly, but she never spoke ill of him. Her dignity was as great as her pain. Even as gossip spread through the palace, she carried herself like a queen, praying that Allah would one day soften his heart. Seasons turned. The rains returned to the north, blessing the land. In Okeoro, drought came, a cruel reversal. The river shrank and famine threatened the people. Hearing of their plight, Karim persuaded his father to send help, breaking the silence between the kingdoms. Camels laden with grain, salt, and water jars crossed the desert and forest road into Okeoro. When Adesewa saw the royal insignia of Zazao on the goods, she knew he had not forgotten her. Gratitude rekindled hope. Kabiesi Odewumi's heart, softened by Karim's generosity, invited him once more, this time not as a petitioner, but as a guest of honor. When Karim arrived, the palace drummers played the bata and kalangu side by side, Yoruba and Hausa rhythms woven into one.
But the test of heart was not yet over. Amina too had traveled south with a convoy, sent by the emir's wife as a companion and symbol of northern nobility. She was dignified, beautiful, and kind, the perfect match by every worldly measure. The Yoruba court received her graciously, though Adesewa felt her chest tighten each time she saw the woman beside Karim. The tension between duty and destiny hung like smoke. During the festival of Oshun, when maidens danced by the river, Adesewa's steps faltered, her heart unsure whether to rejoice or retreat. Then, as drums thundered and chants rose to the skies, Karim stepped forward before both courts. He declared not war nor treaty, but truth, that love must serve unity, not fear. He spoke of kingdoms built on pride and how the land itself thirsted for reconciliation. He bowed before both rulers, his father and hers, and before Amina, whose eyes shone with understanding. "Let the future be written by courage, not tradition," he said, his voice steady as the northern wind. It was Amina who stepped forward then, veiling her tears and placing a garland of flowers around Adesewa's neck. "Love," she said quietly, "belongs where it is returned." In that moment, she became not a rival, but a sister in spirit, honored by both families.
The drought passed. Karim and his delegation were back in Okeoro again. However, this time under twin moons, one pale, one golden, Karim and Adesewa were joined in sacred union. The Yoruba priest poured libation to the ancestors. The Hausa imam offered blessings from the Quran. 2 faiths, 2 crowns, 1 love. Their wedding feast lasted 7 nights and 7 dawns. Drummers from Kano played beside Yoruba talking drums, and storytellers sang of how water and fire had finally learned to dance. Amina returned to Zazao with dignity and peace, her name remembered with honor. Years later, when their children ruled over a united realm of trade and tolerance, people would still gather beneath the moon to tell the tale of the Hausa prince and the Yoruba princess, how they taught 2 nations that love need not erase difference, only illuminate it. And so it is said, when the twin moons rise, even the gods pause their quarrels, for they know the earth remembers the day love built a bridge between crowns. My dear ones, this is where our story ends for now. But tell me, what did your heart feel as you listened? Share your thoughts in the comment, eh? You know Grandma loves to hear from you. And don't forget, press that subscribe button, like the story, and ring the little bell so that every time I come back here, you will be the first to join me. Until then, may your paths be safe, fruitful, and peaceful. Remember, keep your heart warm, your spirit curious and kind.